Hello mga math aaral! Welcome to my Taglish step-by-step math video tutorials. In this video, I am going to discuss truth values of proposition. We are going to determine the truth values of propositions and we are going to construct truth tables. Kung bago ka pa lang sa channel na ito, don't forget to subscribe and click the bell notification for more updates on general mathematics video tutorials. What are truth tables? So truth tables are logical devices used to determine the truth or falsity of propositional statements by listing all possible outcomes of the truth values for the included propositions. So given a proposition, its truth table shows all its possible truth values. Let's say, for example, a proposition P. Since a proposition has two possible truth values, a proposition P would have the following truth table. So this is now the truth table of our proposition P. So since dalawa lamang ang possible truth values ng isang proposition, pinapakita dito sa table na yung proposition P ay may truth values na true or false. The truth table is useful because we can use it to display all possible truth value combination of two or more propositions. For example, suppose P and Q are propositions. We can construct a truth table displaying the relationship between the possible truth values of P and truth values of Q. The rows of the table will correspond to each truth value combination of P and Q. And so, there will be 2 raised to 2 equals 4 rows. Where 2 here, the base, which is 2, is the number of possible truth values. And the truth value of any proposition is either true or false. So we have only 2 truth values. And the exponent here, which is 2, is the number of propositions. 2 because we have only P and Q. Thus, for propositions P and Q, we have the following table. So, as you can see, there are 4 rows for P and Q. So, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 rows for proposition P and Q. So, since there are 4 rows, there are 2 true truth value. Dalawang true and there are 2 false truth value. Dalawa din ang false. So, in proposition P, we write 2 true truth values and 2 false truth values. So, we write TT, F, F. For proposition Q, we write TF, TF to get all truth value combination. So we have now all the truth value combinations which are true, 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 false, false, true, false, false. Para mapadali or maayos at madali nating ma-memorize ang mga truth-value combinations ng propositions, ito yung ating gagawin. So, since there are 4 rows, i-divide natin siya into 2. Bakit divided by 2? Kasi dalawa lang naman yung truth value. It is either true or false. So, for proposition P, i-divide natin yung 4 into 2. So, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So, isulat natin dalawang true, T, T, at dalawang false, F, F. Sa proposition Q naman, since dito sa proposition P, dalawa na yung ating true, i-divide natin tong dalawa into 2 ulit. So, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So, isulat natin isang true, isang false. Then, isang true, isang false. So, yan yung technique para mas mapadali yung pagsulat natin ng truth table ng mga propositions. Similarly, suppose P, Q, and R are propositions. So, paano natin maipapakita or gagawin yung kanyang truth table? Then, a truth table involving the given propositions has 2 raised to 3 or 2 cubed equals 8 rows. So, yung 2 again is the possible truth values which is true or false lamang. So, we have 2 here as the base. And yung 3 ay the number of propositions. So, since there are 3 propositions which is P, Q, and R, kaya 3 yung nilagay natin as the exponent. So, 2 raised to 3 is 8. So, meron tayong 8 rows sa propositions P, Q, and R. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, we have 8 rows. So, since there are 8 rows, i-divide natin siya into 2. Bakit 2? Kasi nga, dalawa ang possible truth values ng any proposition. Ito ay ang true or false. So, sa proposition P, 8 divided by 2 is equal to 4. So, isulat natin 4 na true. So, we have true, 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 true. At 4 na false. False, 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 false. Sa proposition Q naman, since 4 yung sinulat natin na true dito sa proposition P, i-divide natin tong 4 into 2. So, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So, isulat natin dalawang true, T, T, at dalawang false, F, F. And we have again T, T, F, F. Sa proposition R naman, since dalawa yung sinulat natin na true dito, i-divide natin to ulit into 2. So, T, 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1. So, isulat na natin isang true, isang false. Then, isang true ulit, isang false, T, F, T, F. So, yun yung technique para mas mapadali yung paggawa natin or pagsulat ng mga possible combinations ng ating truth table. Similarly, suppose P, Q, and R are propositions. So, paano natin maipapakita o gagawin ang truth tables nitong ating propositions na P, Q, and R? Then, a truth table involving the given propositions has 2 raised to 3 or 2 cubed equals 8 rows. So, yung truth table ng ating P, Q, and R have 8 rows. Yung 2 dito ay nakuha sa possible truth values which is true or false. At yung 3 dito ay ito yung bilang ng ating proposition. So, since we have P, Q, and R, meron tayong tatlong propositions. So, 3 yung ating exponent. And 2 raised to 3 is equal to 8 rows. So, ito yung ating truth tables sa ating P, Q, and R. So, para mapadali yung ating pagsulat ng mga possible truth value combinations ng ating P, Q, and R, ito yung technique. So, since we have 8 rows, i-divide natin yung 8 into 2. Bakit 2? Kasi nga meron tayong true or false. So, dalawa yun. So, 8 divided by 2 is 4. So, isulat natin 4 na true, then 4 na false. And sa Q proposition, since 4 yung sinulat natin dito sa proposition P, i-divide natin tong 4 into 2 ulit. So, 4 divided by 2 is 2. So, isulat na natin dito sa proposition Q, dalawang true, dalawang false. And then, dalawang true ulit, dalawang false. Sa proposition R naman, since dalawang true yung sinulat natin dito sa proposition Q, i-divide natin itong dalawa into 2 ulit. So, 2 divided by 2 is 1. So, sa proposition R, isang true na lang, then isang false. Then, isang true, isang false, and so on. So, in general, a truth table involving n propositions has 2 raised to n rows, where 2 now is the base, it is constant, and n now is the number of propositions. As mentioned previously, we will use truth tables to define logical operators. If a given proposition is a compound proposition, the truth table is used to exhibit the relationship between the truth values of its simple components and the truth values of the given compound proposition. The simplest logical operator is the negation. And negation means the truth value of the negation of a true proposition is false. And the negation of a false proposition is true. Take note that negation means it's the opposite of the statement. So, kapag yung proposition ay true, yung opposite niya, therefore, is false. At pag yung false proposition naman, ang negation niya or opposite is true, as shown in that negation truth table. So, we have here the proposition P and not P, or negation of P. So, kapag yung proposition ay true, ang negation niya ay false. Pag yung proposition naman ay false, ang kanyang negation is true. Let's have example. P is the proposition. 1 is an odd number. This is a true proposition because 1 is really an odd number. So, P is true. So, yung negation ng ating P ay 1 is not an odd number or 1 is an even number. So, negation of P is false. I repeat, pag yung proposition ay true, ang kanyang negation ay false. The next logical operator allows us to state an expression for two propositions to be true. It is called the conjunction operator, and it is denoted by this symbol, the inverted V. So let's define conjunction. The conjunction P and Q can only be true if each proposition is true. So ang ibig sabihin nito, yung conjunction natin ay true kapag yung propositions natin, both propositions natin ay true, as shown in this conjunction truth table. So, if we have P and Q as the proposition, yung ating truth table ay dalawang T sa P, dalawang false, and then sa Q, true, false, as discussed a while back. So, kapag yung ating proposition ay both true, saka lamang yung conjunction natin ay true. Kasi kapag hindi na siya both true, tulad nito, true, false, false, true, false, false, ang conjunction natin ay false. I repeat, magiging true lamang ang ating conjunction kapag both true yung ating proposition. For example, determine whether the conjunction is true or false. Capital of Philippines is Manila, and penguins live in Antarctica. So this conjunction is true because both of the sub-propositions are true. So yung first sub-proposition natin ay capital of Philippines is Manila. It is true. And yung second sub-proposition natin ay penguins live in Antarctica. So again, it is true. So parehong true yung ating sub-propositions. So yung ating conjunction is true. Next, a rectangle is quadrilateral and birds are reptiles. So this conjunction is false. Why? Because the second proposition, which is birds are reptiles, are not reptiles. So it is false. Pero yung ating first proposition, a rectangle is quadrilateral, is true. Since true at false siya, so ang ating conjunction is false. I repeat, magiging true lamang ang ating conjunction pag parehong true yung ating proposition. The third logical operator is called the disjunction operator and is denoted by this symbol as letter V. A disjunction allows us to express alternatives. The truth value of the disjunction P or Q can only be false if each proposition is false, as shown in this disjunction truth table. So sabi dito, yung disjunction, ang truth value niya ay false kapag both proposition is false. So dapat both false para yung truth value ng disjunction is false. So dito, true, true, the truth value is true. True, false, the truth value is still true. False, true, the truth value is still true. Pero kapag both false, just like this one, false, false, the proposition, the truth value of proposition is false. I repeat, the truth value of the disjunction P or Q can only be false if each proposition is false. Dapat parehong false, then the truth value of the disjunction is false. Otherwise, true na lahat. For example, determine whether the disjunction is true or false. A square has 4 sides or 5 sides. So this disjunction is true. Why? Kasi nga, yung first proposition, a square has 4 sides, is true. Pero yung second proposition natin na 5 sides is false. So, true, false. So, since it is not both false, the answer is true. So, I repeat, etong first proposition natin, a square has 4 sides, is true proposition. Pero yung a square has 5 sides is false. So, true, false, then the disjunction is true. Next, all men are tall or all women are short. So, this disjunction is false because both of the sub-propositions are false. Not all men are tall and not all women are short. So, since yung first proposition natin is false, the second proposition is false, both false, then it is false. The disjunction is false. Conditionals are very important in mathematics since most mathematical statements are expressible in this form. The conditional if P then Q can only be false if a true hypothesis is followed by a false conclusion. Otherwise, it is true. Anong ibig sabihin nito? So, kapag yung hypothesis ay true at yung conclusion ay false, yung ating conditional is false. Otherwise, lahat na ay true, as shown in this implication or conditional truth table. So, pag yung hypothesis natin ay true, followed by a false conclusion, so we have T, F, then the conditional is false. Otherwise, lahat na ay true. So, dito, kapag yung hypothesis ay true, conditional is true, the conditional is true. Pag yung hypothesis ay false, conclusion is true, still the conditional is true. Pag parehong false, yung hypothesis at conclusion, still the conditional is true. So, dito, kapag T, F, saka lamang magfo-false yung ating conditional. For example, determine whether the disjunction is true or false. If dolphins swim in the ocean, then birds fly in the sky. So our hypothesis is dolphins swim in the ocean. At yung ating conclusion, birds fly in the sky. So this disjunction or this conditional proposition is true. Why? Because both hypothesis and conclusion are true. Dolphins swim in the ocean. It is true. Birds fly in the sky. It is true. So it is both true, then the conditional is true. Next, if Neptune is a planet, then there are no any volcanoes on Earth. So this conditional proposition is false. Why false? Because the hypothesis is true. Neptune is a planet. But the conclusion is false. There are volcanoes on Earth, right? So this sub-proposition or this conclusion, there are no any volcanoes on Earth, is false. So the hypothesis is true, the conclusion is false, therefore, this conditional proposition is false. True, false, then the conditional is false. Let's solve activity number 1. Determine the truth value of the following statements. Number 1. Paris is in France or Baguio is in the Philippines. So the logical connector used is or. So this is a disjunction. And the truth value of disjunction can only be false if each proposition is false. Ibig sabihin, pag parehong false yung proposition, ay false yung ating disjunction. So, tignan natin kung parehong false yung ating disjunction. Otherwise, pag hindi, the answer is true. Paris is in France. It is true. Baguio is in the Philippines. Again, it is true. Therefore, our answer is true. The truth value for this disjunction is true. Number 2. Triangle have 3 sides implies that quadrilateral have 4 sides. So this is implication or conditional because of the word implies. At yung truth value ng implication or conditional can only be false if true hypothesis is followed by false conclusion. So, dapat yung ating hypothesis dito ay true and followed by false conclusion so that the truth value is false. Pero kapag iba na, the truth value of conditional or implication is true. Triangle have 3 sides. It is true. So, true ang ating hypothesis dito. Our conclusion is quadrilaterals have 4 sides. Again, it is true. So, yung hypothesis natin ay hindi followed by false conclusion. It is followed by true conclusion. So, parehong true yung hypothesis at ang ating conclusion. Therefore, the truth value of this conditional or implication is true. Saka lamang false kapag true yung hypothesis, false yung ating conclusion. Number 3. Beijing is the capital of China and Manila is the capital of Philippines. The logical connector used is and. Therefore, this is conjunction. At yung conjunction, sinasabi niya, the conjunction can only be true if each proposition is true. So, dapat both proposition natin dito is true so that our answer is true. So, let's see. Beijing is the capital of China. It is true. Manila is the capital of the Philippines. Again, it is true. So, it is both true. Therefore, the truth value is true. Let's solve activity 2. If M and N are true statements and P and Q are false statements, construct a truth table to determine which statements are true. So, papansin ninyo, nilagay ko dito yung ating mga truth table ng logical operators para mas maintindihan nyo at mapadali sa inyo ang pagsagot o pag-construct ng truth table ng ating mga given mathematical statements. But of course, you need to memorize those by heart. So, let's have number 1. the negation of M or P. So this symbol is the symbol for negation. And this symbol is the symbol for disjunction. And this can be read as or. At pwede ring mabasa ito ng not. So we can read this as not M or P. So let's have the truth table for this. So yung M natin ay true because it is stated here M and N are true statements. So nilagay natin yung truth value ng ating M is true. Then we have P. Our P and Q are false. So yung P natin, ang truth value ay false. So let's get first the truth value ng M or P, yung nasa loob muna ng parenthesis. So, the truth value of M or P is true. Bakit true? Paano nakuha yung true? Kasi nga, yung M natin is true at yung P natin ay false. So, from the disjunction truth table, ito yung ating disjunction truth table, hanapin natin yung TF. So, we have TF. At mapapansin nyo dito, ang kanyang truth value is true. So, we have true here. And then, let's get now the negation of M or P. So, negation means it's the opposite, kabaligtaran ng true. Ang opposite ng true is false. Therefore, not M or P has a truth value which is false. Next, number 2, not N and not Q. So, itong symbol na to can be read as and. So, since it is and, it is conjunction. So, gagamitin natin yung conjunction truth table para makuha ang kanyang truth value. So, the table is, yung N natin, sulat muna natin yung truth value ng NQ natin. Yung N, by the given, N is true. So, we have true. Q are false. So, false. Then, let's get now the negation of N. Negation means kabaligtaran or opposite ng N natin. Ang N natin ay true. So, ang opposite niya ay false. And then, let's get the negation of Q, not Q. So, since yung Q natin ay false, ang opposite nito ay true. So, not Q is true. And now, let's get the truth value of not N. Kunin na natin yung kabuuan, not N and not Q. So, since this symbol is for conjunction, gamitin natin yung conjunction truth table. So, yung not Q natin, not N, I should say, yung not N natin is false. So, hanapin natin yung false dito, either of the two. And then, yung not Q natin, not Q is true. So, false, true. Ito yun, false, true. So, ang sagot ay false. So, we have here false. So, not N and not Q is false statement. Now, let's have number 3. M and P or N and Q. So, this symbol is the symbol for conjunction. It can be read as N. So, M and P. N and Q. At yung symbol na to ay yung symbol naman ng ating disjunction. And it can be read as or. So we read again, M and P or N and Q. So, yung apat na proposition ang nagamit. M, P, N, Q. So, ilagay muna natin yung kanilang truth value. So, yung M and N. So, we have M at yung N ay true. True, true. Then, yung P at Q naman ay false statement. So, yung P natin dito at Q natin ay false. False. Now, yung parenthesis muna unahin natin. So, we have here M and P. M and P. So, kukunin natin M and P. True, false. So, since this is conjunction, gamitin natin itong truth table ng conjunction. True, false, true, false. Ang truth value niya ay false. So, yung ating M and P ay false. Next, kunin naman natin ang truth value ng N and Q. N and Q. So, kunin natin yung value ng N at saka Q. So, we have true, false. True, false. So, hanapin natin sa conjunction. True, false. So, same siya sa M and P. Parehong false. So, it is false. Then, let's get now M and P or N and Q. So, yung kabuuan na, kunin na natin. So, since it is or, it is disjunction. So, dito natin kukunin yung ating truth value sa disjunction. So, yung value ng M and P is false. At yung value naman ng N and Q is false. So, false, false. Dito sa disjunction, false, false is false. So, the truth value of this statement is false. Next, number 4. M, N, the quantity N, and Q. So, meron tayong tatlong proposition, M, N, Q. So, kunin muna natin ang kanilang truth value. Yung M, N natin stated naman dito, M and N are true statements. So, true, true. Then, yung Q is false. So, Q, false. Kunin muna natin yung truth value ng nasa parenthesis, N and Q. N and Q. So, since it is N, it is conjunction. Dito natin kukunin sa conjunction table. N, Q, true, false. True, false. So, we have here true, false. The truth value is false. So, kaya false yung nilagay natin dito. Now, let's get the whole statement. M, N, and Q. So, yung N and Q natin is false. At yung M natin dito is true. So, since ito yung symbol, this is conjunction. So, dito natin titignan. Of course, tignan muna natin yung M. M is true. So, we have true. Then, yung N and Q is false. So, true, false. We have here true, false. So, the answer is false. Now, let's have number 5. M or P and Q. So, meron tayong tatlong proposition, M, P, Q. So, ilagay muna natin sa ating table yung kanilang truth value. So, yung M natin, M is true. Then, yung P and Q, sabi dito, P and Q are false statements. So, false, false. Now, let's get yung nasa parenthesis, P and Q. So, P and Q. So, yung N, is for conjunction. So, titignan natin yung conjunction truth table. So, P and Q. So, yung P natin is false. Yung Q natin is false. So, false, false, F, 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 F. The answer is false. So, we have now false here. Now, kunin na natin yung buo, M or P and Q. So, yung M natin is true. At itong symbol na to is for disjunction. So, kukunin natin yung truth value sa disjunction truth table. So, since yung P and Q natin is false, so meron na tayong yung M is true and P and Q is P or Q is false. So, true, false. Hanapin natin yung true, false sa disjunction. True, false. So, it is true. So, the statement is true. Number 6. If M, then P, then Q. So, meron tayong tatlong proposition, M, P, Q. So, isulat muna natin sa table yung kanilang truth value. So, M natin, M is true, P, Q, P, and Q are false. So, false, false. Now, let's get first, if M and P. So, since if and then yung nagamit, it is implication or conditional. Kunin natin dito yung value. So, if M, then P, kunin natin if M is true, then P is false. So, true, false. Kunin natin dito, true, false. The answer is false. So, we have here false. Now, kunin natin yung buo. If M, then P, then Q. So, yung ating if M, then P ay false. And then, yung Q natin is false. So, false. Ito una natin babasahin. False, false. So, hanapin natin sa implication truth table yung false, false. So, false, false is true. So, we have here true. Now, let's have the last two items. Number 7. M or P or not N. So, meron tayong tatlong proposition, M, P, N. So, sulat muna natin yung kanilang truth value. So, yung M natin is true. So, M, true. Yung P natin, P, false. Then, yung N natin, M and N are true. So, true. Now, let's get first the not N, yung negation ng N. So, the negation of N, opposite of true, is false. So, not N is false. It's the opposite of true. True, then we have the opposite is false. Now, kunin natin yung buo na nasa loob ng parenthesis, P or not N. So, since it is or, itong symbol, it is disjunction. So, kunin na natin dito yung sagot sa disjunction truth table. So, P or not N. So, kunin natin yung P. Ang value ng P is false. Then, yung not N natin is false. So, false, false. Tignan natin dito sa disjunction table kung anong value ng false. False is false. So, we write false here. Next, kunin natin yung buo. M or P or not N. So, yung M natin is true. Since this is or, gagamitin ulit natin yung disjunction truth table. So, since yung M na natin is true, so either of the two. True, true. Pero yung ating P or not N is false. So, we have true at false. I-repeat, yung M is true at ito ay false. So, true, false. Hanapin natin dito sa disjunction yung true, false. True, false. So, the answer is true. So the statement is true. And the last we have M and N. If M and N, then P. So, kunin muna natin yung truth value ng M and P. Yung M and are true. So, true, true. Yung P natin is false. Kunin na natin yung nasa loob ng parenthesis, M and N. So, since N, it is conjunction. So, kunin natin dito sa conjunction truth table yung true, true. So, true, true is true. So, we write here true. And next, kunin natin yung buo. So, M and N is true. Tapos, yung P natin is false. So, we have true, false. Since it is implication, kunin natin yung value sa implication truth table. Hanapin natin true, false. True, false. So, we have false. So, the statement is false. Thank you for watching Math Aaral. Until next time, God bless.